considering it's one of those things that comes around every Friday, and I should just accept that and make a video on them, I'm going to start covering both Xur and what he's got, and what is going to be available for trials. So, to kick it off with Xur, he's currently on Nessus in the Watcher's Grave. In case you don't know where that is this drop zone in the tree just next to it. And when you visit Xur, he will have his usual variety. In terms of exotic gear, it's the usual purchasable engram, as well as purchasable with one cipher if you have one. In the weapon slot, he has currently Suros Regime, a kinetic auto rifle, which is a handy one, but more of a crucible-based one, which is basically, it has glass half full intrinsically, but also has a chance to return health on kill, so a mini Crimson, but also has unique function in the form of the Catalyst that also, if I recall, gives it more chance to heal, but it also has selectable fire modes, essentially. One that has a chain gun effect where it increases the rate of fire over a period of time of holding on the trigger, and also the version where aiming down sights slows down but increases weapon fire. So, on that note, this is a pretty solid pick for Crucible if you need just a auto rifle. It has decent damage, decent range, as well as decent, healing. It's basically one of those guns that can chain from firefight to firefight pretty well. Then, in terms of armor for hunters, we have Knucklehead Radar, which is essentially, the most Crucible-based armor that no one ever uses. Basically, it makes it so that you get radar while aiming and also enhances the resolution when crouched, which, in this day and age, I feel like this one needs a rework. Because at the same time, it has some of the coolest looking, that. That is one of the coolest looking ornaments I've seen for a basic helmet. But at the same time, it's like, who even uses this anymore? Like, literally, at the highest end, this is just the trials guys who spend their weekend doing nothing but trials and have nothing better to do than challenge themselves using random things. Then for Titans, we have Ursa Furiosa, which is something I would definitely recommend for any Void build based on Wall, in case you're running Sentinel Shield, which is, the guarding with the Sentinel Shield. Pretty much would recommend this for anyone that loves that. Essentially, it makes it so that you can move faster when guarding. And also it makes it so that damage received turns into super energy when the super ends. I will warn people, the mechanics of this one is a little bit tricky. If you die mid-super, it will not refund it in a variety of ways, but at the same time, it does cap out at the usual half that every super refund has. I would definitely recommend this, though, in case you're doing any sort of Sentinel Shield build that does not already have an exotic. Then, as well, he is selling Starfire Protocol, which is handy. It is, of course, everyone knows this, one of those exotics that looks like crap, but at the same time has one of the best perks. For Solo 3.0, specifically on Warlock's side, basically makes it so you have an additional Fusion Grenade charge, and recharges from Empowered Weapon damage, basically damage while in a Empowering Rift. At the same time, Fusion Grenade kills grant Rift energy. So combine that with the Touch of Flame thing to make Fusion Grenades explode twice. You practically refund a grenade just by throwing a grenade ball in an Empowering Rift, or a well, I should specify. Now, phone going off. On the terms of the legendary weapons, we have Dire Promise, Adaptive Frame Kinetic Hand Cannon, Triple Tap Osmosis is pretty meh. Ikelos Hand Cannon, which is oddly enough in the rotation still, even though it's craftable and earnable this season. So if you somehow still need one, get it. Brass Attacks, a aggressive burst sidearm from Season of the Chosen. Threat Detector 1 for All is kind of a good roll if you're in the pit, but at the same time, if you need just more straight up damage, there's other ways you can go for this one as well. But, this is the only way to get it nowadays. Same thing with Hull Words, a pretty solid roll under pressure. Vorpal would honestly kind of recommend this in case you wanted to make sure this thing stayed restrained, because with Particle Repeater and Polygonal Rifling, this one's a good way to keep this one on level and accurate. With Vorpal, always good just because it is just straight up more damage in some cases. We have Ignition Code, Kinetic Lightweight Grenade Launcher, Blinding Nades on it, as well as freaking Field Prep, which is something I would definitely recommend. But at the same time, does have Demolitionist, which is still pretty good. And I think this is actually the roll on my one that I have somewhere, now that I think of it. But it's hard to say. It's been ages since I've used that Ignition Code. Then we also have Threaded Needle, which is currently Clown Cartridge Frenzy, which if you couldn't get something like... Well, actually, no, I might actually recommend this more than one other roll. I might recommend Autoloader instead of Clown Cartridge in case you were a fan of the Hot Swaps damage setups, but I would definitely recommend Frenzy over the original Vorpal if you had it, just because it's a bit more of a damage buff, plus, enhanced reload and all that sort of stuff, but, preference is preference. We also have Lonesome, a kinetic sidearm originally from the Gambit Prime and Reckoning thing. It's, you know, it's a precision frame sidearm. It's a tricky one. It controls the recoil. It looks kind of cool when you have the ornament, but at the same time, this is a sidearm still. So unless you're somehow one of those people in the Crucible that like sidearms, I wouldn't recommend it. Into our armor. Now, I'll do steady scroll throughs for all three of the characters, but it is the Dead Orbit set in terms of cosmetics for what you have available for your armor, and I will be showing, of course, I will make sure to show the variety of different characters as well, in case you were worried I skipped over them. Then for exotic weapons, we have Hawk Moon. Its version, quick draw, polygon rifling, smooth grip. Honestly, not that bad of a roll. It's a little bit lacking on range in case you wanted some extra range, but it's definitely one of those stable versions. Plus, you know, quick draw, it's definitely a good one in case you wanted to keep things stable, but not good for range. Then for Dead Man's Tale, a pretty stable roll, chambered compensator, steady rounds, keeps it, you know, stable, composite stock, you know, all the stability and that sort of thing. Outlaw, I would definitely honestly recommend this one in case you didn't have any idea for other perks, and it's decent state now after, you know, getting all of its changes back and forth. Now, to check with other characters to see what the other armors have. Okay, that was weird. I know a public event was just happening, but my screen almost went completely black. So Bungie help, you might want to actually take note of that in case that's a weird thing. But checking with the Hunters, like I said before, it was the Anti-Extinction set for Hunters. Decent enough stat rolls, 65, 63, very high mobility. It comes all arc, but changing elements is pretty easy nowadays. 65 with a well-rounded roll, highest in strength and mobility. Then we have a 63 with a 28 roll on mobility. Cloak for nothing. Anti-Extinction Mask, Helmet, 61 roll, still high mobility like usual. And then we have a 60 roll for Boots, a high spike in Resilience, in case any of these was anything to you. But like I said, they're there in case you were wanting them just to track down a cosmetics to add to transmogs. Good lord, the amount of sparrows here. I swear, they're... Somebody should just make a compilation. You know, I might actually, but I should just stand by Xur on Friday and see how many different sparrows are just left here. Because I'm assuming all of these were just dropped here by somebody who went to Xur, checked what he had, and left. But on that note of Xur, it is time to see what he has in terms of the Warlock armor. So once again, Anti-Extinction for the Dead Orbit set. We have a 63 roll on gloves, high spike in mobility. Then we also have a 61 roll on chest armor, low spike in mobility, well-rounded everywhere else. And then we also have for the helmets, high spike in resilience and strength, but low spikes pretty much everywhere else. And for the boots, moderate spikes in mobility, recovery, intellect, and strength, but low resilience and discipline rolls. And with that, it is time to visit Saint 14 and see what we have in terms of trials. So the map currently is the Radiant Cliffs, in case you wanted to know, but then again, that is what the community allegedly voted on, as according to Bungie. And checking with Saint 14, currently the weapon available for Flawless is the Exalted Truth, the hand cannon that was just introduced this season, void adaptive frame, variety of different perks you can get on it, but of course, you know, another adaptive frame hand cannon, so just another one to add to the pile. But the other weapons are, well, those are, I forgot Light.gg mentions that those are just the rank up packages, which are, well, actually, no, maybe not, because it says it is the shotgun and the bow, the Inquisitor, as well as the Whistler's Whim, according to the rank up packages, but I don't think that changes ever. So, just ignore my ramblings if that's the case. But Exalted Truth is the adept weapon available for a Flawless this week on the Radiant Cliffs. And I forgot to mention as well, my guess earlier this week was accurate, and the booster was currently the Trials booster, which is active currently, but it is also Freelance, in case you were at all curious. So, Freelance, double rank, Trials, there you go. If it was ever your time for solo queue grinding in Trials, now is the time. With that, my name is Bad Scorpion. I will see you in the next video.